Here are my three steps for being in a healthy extrovert-introvert relationship. Okay. Step one is to stop judging and start appreciating. Being an extrovert or an introvert is part of your personality and not something to be fixed unless you're on an extreme end of either. One isn't wrong and one isn't right. Here in the United States, it's often seen as extroversion is more right and introversion is more wrong. So instead of judging yourself or your partner's, proclivities, see them instead as preferences. Your partner prefers to be out mingling at a party versus staying at home. Your partner needs more downtime than you do. Your partner enjoys his one friend. He doesn't need to add to his friend group. Instead of judging how your partner is, I really want you to look to accept them for who they are. You're a team. What do I say over and over? Remember, you're a team. So how can you stop judging and trying to change your partner and learn to embrace who they are instead? Trust me, that's what you did in the beginning of the relationship. That extrovert, when was so attractive to you and you were doing new things and it was out of your comfort zone and it was really cool. And that introvert felt so, like a calm pool that you wanted to relax in. It felt so good to be around them, so calming and nurturing and fabulous, right? But we forget when we're going, when we have kids and buy a house and have to pay bills and, do things together in different ways, we start to really judge. If you're an extrovert, stop judging your introverted partner. If they're quiet, it doesn't mean they're angry or frustrated. Introverts and extroverts are both fun. If you're an extrovert, your introverted partner is fun. These are the things I hear the most when I have couples arguing about this. You just might have a different definition of what having fun means, but I will hear extroverts tell their introverted partners, you just never have any fun. Why don't you want to have any fun? You have different kinds of fun. So you got to get real with that. It's not rude if your introverted partner wants to leave early or a party early or something, wants to leave the dinner early. It's not rude when they say they need time alone. This is you judging what those things mean. Now, if you're an introvert, you also have to stop judging your extroverted partner. They're not too social. They're this idea that they're really egomaniacs, they just like to be the center of attention, like it's some ego thing. I'm not saying that's never at play, but often they like to engage because it energizes them. So don't judge that. Don't label that. They're not too much. That's the other one I hear a lot when I have an introvert I'm working with, and they have an extroverted partner, they'll say, oh, they're just so much. They're just so much all the time. No, they're not. They are who they are. They are who they are. And I ask you not to judge them as I ask them not to judge you. So if any of that sounds familiar, right, you've got to stop judging and start appreciating like you did in the beginning. There had to be a beginning time when you appreciated your partner's differences. It just changed as you grew in the relationship. That appreciation changed to judgment. So it's got to change back. You got to do that first. Step two is I want you to learn something, not prove something in this relationship. So now that you have the judgment gone, you can hopefully see that there's a lot you can learn from one another. For you extroverts, what would it mean to slow down a notch and spend some quality time with yourself? Are you avoiding anything by being busy or out and about? How do you feel when you're quiet and calm? And how could that be good for you? For you introverts, is there any part of your introversion that does border on social anxiety that needs to be looked at? Is there any fear in your interaction with others that should be addressed? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis about your needs? Are you judging yourself unfairly? So instead of pushing against your partner's introversion or extroversion, what is it you can learn and adopt from them that could be helpful in your own growth? In conversations or in arguments, can you try to learn something instead of focusing on proving something? Can you think in that way, which I talk about a lot anyway, but it's It's especially important here. If your partner is different than you, do some work learning about this particular personality trait. Again, stop judging and learn about it. For example, extroverts tend to learn better through hands-on experience. This is from the research. They learn better. So again, because their biochemistry is different. So they'll jump into situations and to conversations, they'll jump in very quickly. Introverts, on the other hand, will often initially hang back and watch for a minute before they take action, right? They prefer to learn through observing. So just understanding this about your partner means you can know the best way to discuss something with them, or you could at least remind them of their preference before beginning a difficult conversation to help keep defensive-ness at a minimum. Another difference is that extroverts tend to discuss first when they're upset or, problem solving. So they'll be out there talking. They kind of talk through it. I just had a talk with Gary the other day on the phone about something, and I didn't even notice I had a whole conversation with myself with him listening. And he's like, well, I don't know if I was very helpful, but you seem happy now. But that's how I process a lot, is sort of out loud like that. Whereas introverts tend to think about an issue on their own first and then come to you with a complete thought set, right? With everything all figured out. So understanding this about your partner can help you figure out what your, rules of engagement are for your relationship. So you can both feel heard, feel understood, feel listened to. Here's the most common thing I see with my clients. Who, have one who's more extroverted and one who's more introverted. The husband comes in and he's talking about some big thing going on and something they have to figure out. And he's talking about all the different things they can do. And meanwhile, his introverted, maybe, I'll say wife for now, but it could be a husband or someone else. His more introverted wife is overwhelmed with all the talking and all the ideas and all the stuff. So by the way, first of all, that often comes out as defensiveness because she thinks he's going to go, start this new business and where they move across the world and now live in Brazil. And he's now a farmer instead of, a tech engineer or something. You know what I mean? Like, people, the extroverts are just talking and problem solving out loud and saying things and sharing, whereas the introvert might feel very overwhelmed. But what happens sometimes is that the introvert then says, well, I just need to think about this. Or worse, they don't say they need to think about it and they just agree in the moment to whatever it is, or they just say no in the moment to whatever it is. And really then they go back and they're taking time thinking about it and wondering, and maybe they look some things up. Well, how is it to farm in Brazil? Is it fun? I'm making this up, my Brazilians listening. You're laughing at me right now. Maybe they're looking that up and finding out information about how to farm in Brazil. I don't know. But what happens is they'll come to a session again with me and say, well, I give her all these chances to talk and she never says anything. And then 3 weeks later, she says no, or she says, I didn't mean to say yes. And I'm like, yeah, because you guys process differently, that you have to start having different rules of engagement about this stuff. You have to start really figuring that out. If you're an introvert, maybe be open to being with someone who gives you more opportunities to meet new people or try new things you might never have thought of, right? If you're an extrovert, you've got your own opportunities to be more introspective and slow down. So both of you grow by reaching slightly out of your comfort zone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, you both have something when you're looking to learn something, not prove something. You can be like, oh yeah, maybe I have all these ideas. And instead of just blurting them out the way I usually do, we could do something different, right? We could come to this differently. Or at the very least, now that you know you're an introvert and that you need more time, you could have a code word for that or something. Which really brings me to step 3, was that you have to create mutual agreements of understanding. So now that we stop judging, now that we're really open, we're trying to learn something that proves something, now from here, you can create mutual agreements of understanding. Instead of thinking that your partner needs to change, now you can have you've deepened your understanding and your acceptance of the way they operate. You're ready to create, something where you're both agreeing to it. So in the big picture, you want to problem solve together how you'd like to deal with social situations or other issues that arise from your differences. So again, I've had couples who now problem solve differently, where they use a whiteboard. I have one couple, I love it. They developed this whiteboard they have a shared office, and this particular couple, the husband is more extroverted and the wife is more introverted, and they'll brainstorm all the stuff out on the board. And they know, like, the rules of engagement are, the mutual agreement now is that we're not going to make any decisions, that we're only going to ask questions. We're going to poke holes at whatever it is by, asking questions, learning more, understanding. That's all we're doing. So the husband has had to really slow down his role. But again, he's looking to just engage and have his partner. So what's happening now is that because this wife is not feeling defensive anymore. She's not feeling like she has to, like, oh my God, he's a tidal wave coming at me and I'm just trying to breathe. I need to get out of here or drown. Instead, she understands that it can be a slower process and she'll have time to think, so she can get excited with him. She can be like, I don't know, like, well, what would it be to move to Brazil? And what are you thinking about when you say farming? And what made you think of farming in the first place? And what made you think of Brazil in the first place? And wow, how would we learn Portuguese? And, there's now all these questions, and understanding that they are not going to have an answer that day. You see the difference? That's how you get to that. I really need you to stop and think for yourself, what do I need to be happy in this relationship? The answer should not be something your partner needs to do ever, whether you're introverted, extroverted, or not. Ever, ever, ever. For example, if you're an extrovert, the answer can't be, how do I need to be happy in this relationship? The answer can't be, I need my introverted partner to go do more things with me. Then I'll be happy. I know it's what you think, but it's not. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's not your partner's job to change your happiness level. This is really a time for radical acceptance. And again, embracing of what is. This is who you guys are. Why are we working so hard to change? Why aren't we finding mutual solutions that we can both come on board with? So yeah, the extrovert has to slow down a little. The introvert has to lean in a little. These are beautiful things, but it's done in safety. Why do you need your partner with you when you go out? Or why do you need your partner to stay in more? These are good questions. The answer to these questions generally comes from insecurities or past assumptions about the way a relationship should be. I need you both to be secure in your own way of operating while you remain open and flexible to your partner's ways of operating. If your partner goes out a lot without you, you can't be at home feeling jealous and abandoned or rejected. That's about you, not them. Or maybe you're the extrovert who's misinterpreted your introverted partner's need for more alone time as their rejection and abandonment of you. These are different issues, and that's what I usually find is at the base. If you stay in love-based emotions instead of fear-based ones, it's easier to problem solve situations, right? So I have another couple, what they do is they both go, to like, let's say they're going to a big holiday party together. This just happened. It was a big birthday party for someone. They were going to a big birthday party together, but they agreed ahead of time how long they would stay, okay? Like, they both agreed how long this would be. Other times, though, they've driven separately so that the introverted partner can leave if they're feeling drained, right? Like, there are so many ways to problem solve what's happening that don't involve saying one is wrong and one is right. Again, if you do steps 1 and 2 correctly, when you get to step 3 about the mutual understanding, you will see how amazingly well it goes. Because when people feel accepted, they feel safe and they take risks. They're willing to lean into something that's uncomfortable. We have to connect to correct. So, they feel like, oh, we're connected. I really do want to look differently at this. I really do want to lean in differently here. That changes the game. Then you're a team coming at this from a team approach, not a you problem, me problem thing, but it's an us. This is really about your boundaries, stating clearly what you need, what your deal breakers are. If you haven't gotten my book, Boundaries Made Easy, yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's also on Audible and it's Kindle and it's all the things. I'm really proud of that book and people love it. Go read the reviews. It's an action-packed way to learn to stay what you really need. Hold your ground, stop being so insecure, stop projecting onto your partner how because you don't feel good, like all those things, and how to stop being defensive in this relationship. I have another episode called How to Listen Without Getting Defensive or Hurt. You should really be also listening to that. We will link to it in the show notes or under the video. Again, falling in love is easy with someone who's a bit quote unquote opposite than you. It's staying in love. That's the key. And you really can. You really can. If you're committed to this relationship and you need to make it work and want to make it work. And I will tell you that doing the work is important no matter what. Even if you end up not together, even if you end up thinking this isn't my person, doing that work and not just, done, you will learn so much about yourself. You will have compassion for your partner. You will, at the very least, end better, not bitter. You will find a new place to be that's going to help you grow.